All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are shifting gears completely.
We really are.
Yeah, I want you to mentally dim the lights right now. Maybe light a candle if you have one handy. Imagine you are walking into a room that smells faintly of old paper and, I don't know, maybe some incense.
Definitely some incense.
Yeah.
Maybe a lava lamp bubbling in the corner.
Oh, 100% a lava lamp and some ambient down-tempo jazz playing in the background. Because today we are conducting what I like to call a financial therapy session.
Which is desperately needed by most of us, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But here's the catch. And this is a strict rule for the next hour or so. There are no spreadsheets allowed today.
Thank goodness.
Zero. No calculators, no terrifying graphs showing inflation eating your savings, no talk of APR or compound interest or mutual funds.
That sounds relaxing already and
Yeah.
honestly a little irresponsible, which is basically my favorite kind of therapy.
That is exactly the goal. Because let me ask you, and I am asking our listener this too, looking you right in the spiritual eye here. Do you actually enjoy staring at your bank account?
Oh, wow.
Do you get a genuine thrill from refreshing the banking app on your phone, hoping the number has magically added a zero? But instead, you just find yourself sweating a little bit.
Or a lot.
Right. Maybe a mild heart palpitation.
I think for most people, looking at the bank account is less of a hobby and more of a stress-inducing ritual.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot like checking the news these days. You know it is going to be bad, but you look anyway because you feel like you have to witness the disaster.
Exactly. It is the doom scroll of personal finance. And if that is you, if you are the person who stares at the numbers and worries constantly, this deep dive might just ruin your hobby forever.
We can only hope.
Because we are going to talk about why that specific act, the worrying, the checking, the quote-unquote being responsible, is actually the very thing keeping those numbers low.
It is entirely counterintuitive to everything we are taught.
Completely. But before we jump into the metaphysical deep end here, I do have to give our standard, very important disclaimer.
Yes, the legal stuff. Let us hear it.
This podcast is distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We are here to learn, to explore, and to expand our minds. We are not financial advisors, and we are certainly not selling you a get-rich-quick scheme.
If anything, this is a get-rich-slow and weird scheme.
The best kind. And today's source material is fascinating because it deals with wealth, but from a perspective that you will never, ever find in the Wall Street Journal. We are looking at session 404 of the early sessions, book 8 of the Seth material.
A total classic in the metaphysical space.
It really is. The specific date of record for this session is Monday, April 8, 1968. So we are traveling back in time quite a bit.
We are. And I think we need to set the scene properly for this because context is everything here. We are not in some sterile studio. We are in Elmira, New York. It is 1968. The world outside is completely chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
You have Vietnam, protests, the counterculture is in full swing.
Right.
But inside this specific apartment, the vibe is incredibly intense.
Very intimate.
You have Jane Roberts. Now, for those who do not know, Jane is a poet, a writer, a very petite woman. But in this moment, she is not Jane. She has entered a deep trance state. She's speaking as the entity known as Seth.
And her whole demeanor changes, right?
Completely. Her voice drops an octave. It gets very rhythmic. She takes off her glasses, which is actually a massive deal because she was practically blind without them, but her eyes change focus entirely.
And then there's Robert Butts, her husband. He is the anchor in the room. He is sitting there, probably chain smoking, furiously transcribing every single word Jane says by hand in a notebook. He is the scribe for all of this.
Usually, yes.
Right.
But tonight, in session 404, Rob is not just a passive observer.
No, tonight Rob is the patient. Rob, or Joseph as Seth calls him, is in a mood. And honestly, it is a mood we can all deeply relate to. He is stressing out about money.
The universal stress.
They have bills piling up. The rent on their apartment is literally being raised. Attendance at Jane's ESP classes, which was a vital source of income for them, is fluctuating. So Rob is doing what any responsible adult would do.
Okay.
He is worrying.
Right.
He is watching every single penny. He is calculating how long they can survive on what they have. And Seth basically steps in, takes one look at Rob's mental state, and says, "Stop it. You are doing it wrong."
It is the ultimate counterintuitive advice. It goes against everything we are drilled to believe about being a responsible, practical adult in society.
So our mission today is to unpack this specific session. We are going to look at the gravy theory of wealth, which is hands down one of my favorite metaphors in the entire Seth library.
It is so bizarre and perfect.
We're going to look at why Seth says worrying is actually a form of negative planning. And we are going to break down the specific mental exercises Seth prescribes to completely flip the script from poverty to plenty.
And just a quick heads up to the listener right now, these are not vague affirmations. Seth does not just say, hey, think happy thoughts. These are very specific, almost mechanical mental hacks.
So let us dive right into segment 1, the feedback loop of reality. Seth starts the session with a bit of a heavy hitter. He says, quote, "The physical image is a direct materialization of the inner state of mind."
This is essentially the core thesis of the entire Seth material. But here he is applying it directly to the wallet, which makes it very confronting. He tells Rob, you have been told, but you have not taken the information seriously because you were not ready. And then he just lays down the law. He says, first of all negative attitudes must be removed from your consciousness.
Okay, I have to stop you there because if I am Rob and I am sitting there looking at a rent hike notice on my desk and this disembodied voice tells me to remove all negative attitudes, I am probably going to throw my pen across the room.
Oh, absolutely.
It sounds like spiritual bypassing. It sounds like someone saying, just smile and ignore the fire in the kitchen.
It absolutely sounds like that to the rational everyday mind. And that is exactly where Rob is stuck in this session. But Seth is not talking about toxic positivity. He is talking about literal mechanics. He explains that you are attracting further financial problems through your desperation.
Just desperation itself.
Yes. He says you are focusing upon poverty rather than wealth. It's the rule of expectation.
Break that down for me a bit, the rule of expectation.
Think of it like a blueprint for a building. If you are building a house, the physical house can only look like the blueprint you drew. If you draw a house with a giant hole in the roof, the builder builds a hole in the roof.
Makes sense.
Seth is saying that your inner reality, your thoughts, your emotions, your deep expectations, that is the blueprint. If your blueprint is consumed by the fear of not having enough money, the physical reality has no choice. It must mirror that back to you. It creates the lack you are obsessing over.
So by worrying, Rob genuinely thinks he is solving the problem, but he is actually physically building the problem.
Precisely. This is what we can call the trap of the practical mind. Reading the transcript, you can really feel Rob's resistance pushing back. Rob is a practical guy. He is an artist, sure, but he is grounded. To him, ignoring his debts seems, as Seth puts it, highly impractical, unrealistic, and downright foolish.
And I get that. I really do. If I have a massive bill due and I ignore it to go visualize a pile of gold coins, I feel like I am being wildly irresponsible.
Right. We are socially conditioned to believe that worrying equals caring. If I am not losing sleep over the family budget, I must be a reckless idiot.
That is the common trap. But Seth flips it entirely. He argues that to focus on the debts is to bring more upon yourself.
Yes.
The analogy that came to my mind while I was reading this was a leak in a boat. Imagine you are in a little rowboat in the middle of a lake. There is a leak. Water is actively coming in. Rob is staring at the leak, screaming, "Oh my God, there is so much water. Look at the water. It is cold. It is rising."
Perfect analogy.
And Seth is just sitting there calmly saying, "Stop looking at the water. You are manifesting more water. Visualize the patch. Visualize the dry boat."
That is a great way to put it. Because while you are screaming at the water, you are not bailing. You are not patching the hole. You are completely frozen in the state of disaster. Seth essentially tells him that his practicality is actually the most impractical thing he could possibly do.
Wow.
He says, the exaggerated situation could come to pass, however, if you persist in projecting those images outward. By obsessing over the lack of money, Rob is literally painting a detailed picture of poverty that the universe then has to fulfill.
It is honestly terrifying when you think about it like that. It means our anxiety is not just a passive reaction to the scary world. It is an active generator of the scary world.
It is a generator. But the beautiful thing here is that Seth also has a real sense of humor about it, which I think is crucial to keep things light. He is not scolding Rob like a mean schoolmaster. He is teasing him a bit. I love the money god joke in this session.
Oh, that was so good. Tell the listener about that.
Well, Rob clearly feels like fixing this is going to require a massive, exhausting amount of effort. He thinks he needs to become a monk of finance. And Seth says, quote, "You do not have to kneel down before a money god 2 hours a day."
Which is a huge relief. I do not have the knees for that, and I certainly do not have the attention span.
Nobody does. And it is not about obsession. It is about swapping a very bad habit for a good one. Seth is pointing out that Rob is already doing intense mental exercises. They were just negative ones.
Right. He is already a master manifester.
Exactly. He is spending hours vividly visualizing his bank account dwindling to zero. He is spending hours mentally rehearsing the awkward conversation where he tells the landlord he cannot pay the rent. Seth just wants him to take a fraction of that exact same mental energy and visualize the opposite.
So let us get into the how, because this is where the rubber really meets the road for us. Seth does not just say, stop worrying and leave it at that. He gives very specific instructions. This brings us to segment 2, the mental hacks.
Right. And these are fascinating because they're instantly actionable. You can do these today. The first one is what I call the bill-paying flip.
Okay, everyone listening right now, I want you to picture this. We have all been there. You walk out to the mailbox. You open the little metal door. There's an envelope inside. It has that crinkly plastic window. You know immediately it is a bill.
You know the font?
You know the font. Maybe it is the credit card. Maybe it is the electric bill. Maybe it is that surprise medical bill from 6 months ago that you forgot about. What is your immediate physical reaction?
Usually, it is a sinking feeling right in the gut. Your shoulders go up toward your ears, tension in the jaw. The internal monologue instantly goes, ooh, not another one. How am I going to pay this? Why is it so high this month?
Exactly. It is a microdose of absolute dread. Seth says that physical reaction, that split-second emotional contraction, is the entire problem. He tells Rob, when you receive a bill, do not automatically react as you have. Instead, react as if you were contemplating a new painting.
I love that specific comparison. Rob was an artist, so Seth naturally uses art metaphors to reach him. He says, form in your mind the image of a check to that amount.
Wait, let us pause on that for a second, because this is the part that sounds completely delusional to most people. So I see a bill for $100. Instead of seeing $100 leaving my bank account, I am supposed to basically hallucinate that it is a check for $100 coming in.
In a way, yes. You are neutralizing the negative emotional charge. You are not literally believing the electric company suddenly sent you $100. You are playing a mental game to short-circuit the fear response. Seth continues with this. He says, see yourself celebrating as you pay the final amount on your car. See in your mind's eye a surplus of money in the folder when the month's expenses are paid.
It is rewriting the script in real time. Instead of the narrative being, I am losing money, I am being drained dry, the narrative abruptly becomes, I am circulating money, and there is always a surplus left over.
And it completely changes your emotional signature. If you feel relief and celebration instead of dread, you are signaling abundance. You are broadcasting a completely different frequency to the universe.
It is like hacking your own biofeedback loop.
Exactly. You intercept the panic before it takes root.
Okay, so that is the bill flip. Great for the mailbox. But then there's the 15-minute rule. This is for the daily grind of just being alive and having expenses.
Yes. And here Seth references a specific author, which is really cool context for the time period. He mentions Maxwell Maltz, the author of Psycho-Cybernetics,
Which was a massive book in the 60s. It was kind of the original self-help blockbuster before self-help was even an industry.
Huge. Maltz was actually a plastic surgeon who realized that even after he physically fixed people's faces, they still felt ugly and insecure because their internal self-image had not changed at all. Seth validates this concept. He says Maltz's exercises are based on truths, even if Maltz did not understand the full metaphysical depth of what he stumbled onto.
So what is the instruction based on that?
The instruction Seth gives Rob is, for 15 minutes a day, agree to suspend critical judgment. And following the Maltz method, imagine yourself vividly in the position you would like to be.
Suspend critical judgment. That is the key phrase for me right there. It is like giving your inner critic a mandatory coffee break. Hey, critic, go take a walk around the block. For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to pretend I am wildly wealthy, and you are not allowed to chime in and say, but that is not realistic.
Why do you think he limits it to just 15 minutes? Why not tell Rob to fake it till he makes it all day long?
That is a genuinely good question. I assume because doing it 24/7 is basically impossible. If I tried to pretend I was a millionaire while I'm standing in line buying discount ramen, my brain would stage a revolt. The cognitive dissonance would be too painful.
Exactly. It is manageable. If Seth told Rob, you must live in a state of perfect, unwavering faith 24 hours a day, Rob would fail immediately. He would feel incredibly guilty every single time he had a fleeting worry about the rent. But 15 minutes, anyone can do 15 minutes.
You can just daydream.
Right. It is a way to retrain the subconscious mind without requiring you to live a monk-like existence of pure denial. It is a designated break from the current reality of lack.
But here's the catch that I always struggle with. What about the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day? If I spend 15 minutes visualizing immense wealth, and then the rest of the day I'm screaming at the TV about gas prices, does that not just cancel the whole thing out?
It does. It absolutely does cancel it out, which is exactly why Seth offers the next tool, the substitution method. He tells Rob, the rest of the time, consciously make an effort to control your attitude when you find yourself thinking in terms of want or poverty. Then switch your thoughts to ideas of plenty.
This is the mental pivot. It is basically extreme mindfulness.
Right. You catch the negative thought in the act, oh, I'm worrying about the rent again. And instead of spiraling down that drain, you just say, nope, switch. And you force yourself to think about a check coming in or a new client or a sale being made. But Seth adds a very crucial caveat here. He says, this need not involve hypocrisy, indeed must not. You must feel that this is legitimate and practical.
That is the hardest part. How do you possibly feel it is legitimate and practical to think about plenty when your actual physical bank account shows a negative balance? It feels like a bald-faced lie to yourself.
It feels like a lie if and only if you believe the physical world is the only reality. But if you actually accept Seth's premise that thoughts actively create reality, then thinking of plenty is the most practical, realistic thing you can do.
Okay, I see.
It is not a lie. It is the literal seed of the future reality. Think of a farmer. If a farmer goes out and plants a tomato seed, he looks at the dirt. There is no tomato there. Is he lying to himself when he says, I am growing tomatoes?
No, because he understands the hidden process occurring underground.
Exactly. He does not look at the empty patch of dirt and cry, I am a failure, there is no tomato, I am completely deluding myself. He says the tomato is coming because I planted the seed and I am watering it. That is the legitimacy Seth is talking about. You are farming reality.
I love that so much. It is not delusion, it is agriculture. We are farming reality.
Exactly. You are planting seeds of plenty.
Now this brings us to what I think is easily the juiciest part of the entire deep dive, pun fully intended here, segment 3, the psychology of gravy.
Oh, this is fascinating stuff. This is where Seth puts on his psychoanalyst hat and really digs into the deep subconscious reasons why Rob is so blocked about money. It is not just the 1968 economy. It is not just bad luck with his art sales. It is his childhood.
It always goes back to the parents, does it not? Freud would be so proud of this segment.
He really would.
Yeah.
Seth reveals this incredibly complex web of associations embedded in Rob's mind. Rob's father had a brother who was quite wealthy. But Rob's father deeply hated this brother. He thought the brother was arrogant, flashy, self-important. So for Rob, growing up in that house, he learned a very specific, silent lesson.
Which was?
Rich people are bad. Rich people are like my uncle. And if I get rich, my dad will hate me the way he hates his brother.
Wow. That is a massive, deep-seated block. If I get rich, I am like the uncle my dad despises. That is self-sabotage just waiting to happen at every turn.
Exactly. But it gets worse, because then there's the mother side of things. Rob's mother constantly pushed for money. She wanted social status. She wanted nice things. But she was also very emotional, highly dramatic, and very smothering to Rob. Rob feared that intense emotionalism. He wanted to be cool, detached, and rational as an artist.
So making money also felt like allying with his mother. It meant becoming emotional and smothering.
He is completely trapped. If he is poor, he is honoring his dad's values, but he is stressed out and starving. If he gets rich, he's betraying his dad and morphing into his overbearing mother. No wonder the poor guy cannot manifest a single dollar. His subconscious is fighting wealth tooth and nail.
He is stuck in a massive double bind. And this is exactly where the gravy metaphor comes in. It is so weird, but so structurally perfect. Seth says, quote, "It was not safe, too rich and smothering, like gravy that you also dislike." I literally laughed out loud when I read that transcript. Rob hates gravy.
Apparently so. He is not a fan of the Thanksgiving spread.
And his subconscious mind has literally equated wealth with gravy. I want you to think about the sensory details of gravy for a second. It is thick, it is incredibly rich, it covers everything on your plate, it is hot. If you do not like it, it is incredibly suffocating to eat.
Exactly. So every single time an opportunity for money comes to him, an art sale, a new client, his subconscious mind goes, ew, gravy, get it away from me. It pushes the wealth away just like you would push away the gravy boat at a family dinner.
It really makes you stop and wonder what completely random food items or objects we have all unknowingly associated with success. Maybe I subconsciously think success is, I do not know, kale.
Kale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is healthy. I know I'm supposed to have it. People say it is good for me, but do I really want a massive bowl of it? No. So I avoid it.
It is definitely worth examining. Or maybe you grew up constantly hearing the phrase filthy rich. So your subconscious literally thinks money is mud or trash or contamination. If you deeply believe money is dirt, you will subconsciously wash your hands of it every time you get a paycheck. You will find a way to spend it instantly to get clean.
That perfectly explains why so many lottery winners go totally broke within a few years. They're frantically trying to get clean again.
Precisely. You have to clean up your internal associations.
Yeah.
And Seth also specifically calls out the poverty is virtuous fallacy here.
Yeah.
He tells Rob he has this old feeling, always an excuse, that poverty is pure and more virtuous.
The classic starving artist syndrome. I am poor, therefore I am authentic and pure. If I actually make money from my art, I am a corporate sellout.
It is a massive brake on any kind of progress. If you secretly think God or the universe or the spirit of art prefers you to be broke, you will stay broke to stay good. Seth completely dismantles that idea. He basically says, being broke does not make you holy, it just makes you terrified and worried.
There's a quote here where Seth honestly roasts him a bit. He says, "If you are worrying about money, you are as overly concerned with it as any miser." That is a truly sick burn from a non-physical entity.
It is brilliant, though. He's saying that worry is just greed functioning in reverse. Both states are complete obsessions with material things. The miser is obsessed with keeping the coins.
Yeah.
The worrier is obsessed with lacking the coins. Both of them are on their knees bowing before the money god.
That is profound.
The truly spiritual state, according to Seth, is trust and abundance, where you are not thinking about money constantly because you simply know it is there.
Right. I do not spend all day thinking about air because I know I can just take a breath whenever I need one.
Exactly. You trust the air is abundant. You need to trust the money is abundant.
All right, moving on to segment 4, the dynamics of partnership and manifestation. This is really interesting for any couples listening right now who share finances or share a business, because Rod feels like he is fighting this financial battle completely solo.
He really does. Rob feels totally alone and burdened. He tells Seth, for some time I have felt alone in this deal. He thinks he is the only one in the apartment worrying, the only one carrying the heavy burden of keeping the lights on. He is definitely painting himself as the responsible martyr in the relationship.
And Seth just drops an absolute bombshell on him. He says, you felt alone because you felt you were worrying alone. But actually, Jane, or Rupert, as Seth calls her, has been working her tail off.
But entirely internally, Seth reveals that for 2 solid years, Jane has been diligently doing these positive visualizations. She's been imagining the checks coming in the mail. She's been doing the bill flip exercise. But she has been hiding it all from Rob.
Why on earth would she hide it? If they are married and broke, why not team up?
Because Rob was so incredibly negative. She knew if she told him, hey, honey, I am visualizing abundance today, he would immediately shoot it down with his heavy practicality.
Yeah.
He would say, visualizing does not pay the rent, Jane. So she kept it a total secret to protect the energy.
That is both tragic and a little hilarious. Jane is over in the corner quietly manifesting checks, and Rob is pacing the room loudly manifesting past due bills.
And the end result of that dynamic, Seth says, your efforts, therefore, have been knocking each other out.
The knocking each other out effect, it is a literal psychic tug of war.
Imagine 2 people in a canoe. Jane is sitting in the front, paddling forward with all her might toward abundance. Rob is sitting in the back, paddling backward with all his might toward poverty. The canoe does not move an inch. It just violently spins in circles in the middle of the lake.
Seth actually provides a very specific real-world example of this happening to them. He says when the rent was recently raised, Jane immediately visualized a solution, and within 2 weeks, she got 4 brand new students for her ESP class.
Right. The manifestation worked perfectly. 4 new paying students. That extra income should have easily solved the rent issue right then and there. But then, because of the interaction with Rob's deeply negative attitude, his intense fear, his unhealed gravy issues, the class attendance immediately dwindled back down.
You suffocated it.
Seth says he has less than he did at the time because of the interaction with your own attitude.
Man, that puts a massive amount of responsibility squarely on Rob's shoulders. That has got to be a tough pill to swallow, hearing that from your own wife's mouth while she is in a trance. Basically, I fixed the problem and your bad mood broke it again.
It is definitely tough love from Seth, but he emphasizes that their combined abilities are incredibly powerful if they just sync up. He says, your combined efforts can change your situation. If they both manage to agree on a dream home or agree on a comfortable bank balance, the manifestation results naturally amplify.
It stops being a frantic tug of war and suddenly becomes a speedboat.
Exactly. Seth urges them to trust the inner feeling of abundance that they naturally feel when they are in a state of love with each other. He asks Rob, when Rupert and you are in a condition of positive love, do you sense the inner feeling of abundance? Rob says yes. Seth says, hold on to that exact feeling. That feeling is the actual magnet.
So love is the literal frequency of wealth.
In this specific context, yes. Love is a state of expansion, trust, and safety. That perfectly matches the frequency of financial abundance. Worry, on the other hand, is contraction, fear, and defense. That matches the frequency of lack. If you can manage to stay in that expansive love feeling, you are naturally attracting gravy. But the good kind of gravy, the kind you actually want on your potatoes.
The delicious gravy. So we have the specific exercises, we have the partnership dynamic mapped out. Now we get to the final piece of the puzzle here. Segment 5, the letting go technique. This seems to be the absolute hardest part for Rob, and honestly, if I am being real, for me too.
It is the hardest part for most people. Seth actively chides him for watching every dollar in the bank and fearing that it will dwindle away.
The hypervigilance. Opening the app 5 times a day just to make sure his subscription did not hit early.
Seth explains that the very act of watching with fear causes the dwindling to happen faster. It is honestly like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, but applied to personal finance. By observing the bank account with intense fear, you are collapsing the quantum wave function into a state of poverty. You are literally freezing the lack in place with your anxious gaze.
Rob asks a really great question here, though. He asks, is trying to forget about the whole bit the best course? He basically wants to know if he should just entirely ignore reality. Should I just stick my head in the sand and pretend money does not exist?
And Seth refines the advice beautifully here. He says, the point is to let, permit, allow yourself to forget, not force.
Now, that sounds like pure semantics at first glance. What is the actual difference between allowing yourself to forget and forcing yourself to forget?
The difference is huge in terms of energy. Forcing takes a massive amount of energy. It is active repression. It is like standing in front of a closet door, holding it shut with all your body weight, sweating and yelling, I am not thinking about the monster behind this door. I am not thinking about the massive credit card debt.
Right.
You are still entirely focused on the debt, just in a negative, resistant way.
Okay, I see that. So what is allowing?
Allowing is simply walking away from the closet door entirely. It is saying, I have done my 15 minutes of positive visualization. I have planted the seed in the dirt. Now I am going to go paint a picture or cook dinner or read a book. I am going to trust the subterranean process. It is the fundamental difference between stubbornly holding your breath and just breathing naturally.
It is the difference between actively suppressing a terrifying thought and simply turning your attention to something vastly better.
Exactly. Seth tells him, you should not ideally have to do any exercises. The exercises, the bill flip, the 15 minutes of imagination, they're only there to temporarily counter the negative exercises Rob is already unconsciously doing all day. They are medicine for the specific sickness of worry. The ultimate goal is just returning to baseline health. Trust.
Trust, that is such a scary word when the rent is due.
It is. But Seth gives a final, very beautiful assurance at the end of the session. He says, the point is, if you see yourself as financially independent and of abundant means, this will come to pass, and regardless of your parents, burdens will drop from your shoulders when you begin to see yourself unburdened.
Burdens will drop when you begin to see yourself unburdened. It is circular, but in a totally perfect, logical way. You have to drop the mental burden first. You have to take off the heavy backpack in your mind. And then the physical weight in reality naturally falls off.
It is the gravy theory functioning in reverse. If you stop seeing money as this smothering, dangerous gravy and start seeing it as, I do not know, fresh air, sunshine, pizza works perfectly. If you see it as pizza, it flows in easily. Because who does not want more pizza?
Exactly. All right, so let us really unpack the concrete takeaways here for everyone listening. We have covered a lot of deep metaphysical ground in the last hour.
We really have. So let us summarize.
Point number 1. Your bank account looks the way it currently does, strictly because of how you feel about it. The inner creates the outer. If you are using your powerful imagination to worry, you are actively using it to create poverty.
Correct. If you look at a zero balance and feel deep fear, you physically create more zero balance situations. If you look at it and can somehow manage to feel potential and trust, you create growth. The world is just a mirror.
Point number 2, the bill flip. Worrying about a bill arriving in the mail is a negative visualization exercise. You are literally training for the Olympics of poverty every time you panic at the mailbox. Stop doing it.
Instead, play the game. Imagine the bill as a check. Imagine the surplus leftover. Trick your nervous system into relaxing so you can broadcast a better signal.
Point number 3, the 15-minute rule. You do not have to be spiritually perfect all day long. Just give yourself 15 minutes of totally suspended judgment where you are allowed to be wildly rich in your mind.
And the rest of the day, deploy the substitution method. The second you catch the worry, flip it to thoughts of plenty. Make it an automatic habit. Do not feel like a hypocrite about it. Remember, you are a farmer. You are just planting seeds.
And finally, point number 4, check your gravy.
Yes. Dig deep into your own subconscious history. Do you secretly hate gravy? Do you think money is dirty or evil or a betrayal of your hardworking family values?
Yeah.
Those invisible beliefs are the actual walls keeping the money out. You can visualize all day long, but if you deep down think money is gross, you will never, ever let it in.
You know, Seth mentioned something right near the end of the session about brainwaves that I really loved. He says you send out messages of abundance or want. It is exactly like a radio station.
That is such a great closing thought for people to mull over. If your habitual thoughts were a radio station that everyone, including your bank account, was listening to right now, what specific song would be playing?
Is it a depressing funeral march? Is it the rent is too damn high blues? Or is it an upbeat victory anthem?
Or maybe just a really nice chill jazz track titled Everything is Working Out Perfectly.
I definitely like the jazz track.
Me too. Let us keep that one on repeat.
Listeners, we want to sincerely thank you for joining us on this financial therapy session today. We genuinely hope you feel a little richer, at least in spirit, after this deep dive. And if you are currently staring at a bill on your counter right now, well, you know exactly what to do. It is a check.
It is absolutely check.
And we need to give proper credit where credit is due before we go. This deep dive was based directly on the Seth material, specifically Session 404 of the Early Sessions, Book 8.
Which is published by the New Awareness Network. If this conversation blew your mind, and honestly, Seth's concepts usually do, we strongly, strongly encourage you to go directly to the source material. Do not just take our word for it. Seth is dense, he is funny, and the material is incredibly detailed.
You can find all the books and much more at the New Awareness Network website and bookstore. That URL is sethsender.com/let's sake day. Early Sessions.
Go buy the books. Read the actual sessions for yourself. There is so much more profound insight in there than we could ever possibly cover in a single hour.
Absolutely. Go check it out today.
And remember, next time you see a bill in the mail, just smile. And next time you see gravy at dinner, maybe just politely pass the potatoes instead.
Good advice. Until next time, remember, your thoughts are the reality.
See you then.